I'm still displaced from my home/studio. You can imagine how calm I am about it.
It's time for Hollywood Grump.
Hey everybody, welcome to Hollywood Grump. I am the Grump, and I am now on day 28 of a 10-day home repair project. That's right, day 28. But there is light at the end of the tunnel, at least I'm told. There's only some flooring left to be done. So I should be back to normal very, very soon. Although, it took the contractors 5.5 hours to paint a 6-foot section of wall yesterday. So the jury's still out. So I thought I would take just a few minutes to address an email that I got a few weeks ago that I haven't been able to stop thinking about. By the way, today's episode is shot on a DJI Osmo Pocket. That's right, that's what I've been relegated to, shooting on a DJI. So if the picture's bad or the sound is lousy, save the time and send your comments directly to DJI because there's nothing I can really do about it. In any event, back to this email. So a few weeks ago I got an email from a guy in Sweden. His name isn't important, but if you're watching, this is directed at you, mate. This person, who we'll call Sven, because it's fun to say, has set off on an epic journey. Sven is from the UK. He essentially sold everything he owned, moved to Sweden, and bought an old boat in the hopes of refurbishing that boat and traveling around the world, sailing around the world. That's super awesome. Sven is also an aspiring filmmaker, so naturally, he wants to document this entire journey in video form, which is also very, very cool. So far, so good. In his email, there were a bunch of questions about his collection of lenses and if he's got the right lenses, if he's using the right camera, so on and so forth. Just general questions about that kind of gear stuff. But then Sven wrote a sentence that really stuck with me, and I haven't been able to shake it since. I want to make sure I get it right. Sven wrote, "I got into videoing the journey, and I'm trying to teach myself how to tell a good story. My attempts to date have not been good enough, hence, no videos on my channel yet." That sentence has been stuck in my drain pipe ever since I read it. My normal reaction to young filmmakers when they post a video or a short film online is usually, hey, great visuals, but there's no real story here. Even if I don't say that, that's what I'm thinking. I'm a big proponent of great storytelling. In fact, most of the time I choose great storytelling over great visuals. 9 out of 10 times. I think the visuals are secondary to a good story. But this instance hit me differently, and I'll tell you why. In this particular case, the story is about you. There is no right or wrong way to tell your story. You're the one telling it. It's about you. Nobody can tell it like you can. It's by its nature authentic. That's what telling your own story is about. Or maybe I should say it's authentically you. My guess, and I think it was confirmed in later correspondence with Sven, but not directly, is that Sven was worried about his technique. Meaning he was worried that his videos wouldn't be up to par with other stuff he'd seen online. But Sven, it's your story. It can look however you want. You're not telling someone else's journey. You're telling your own journey. This goes out to all young filmmakers. Your stuff doesn't need to look like anybody else's, and it shouldn't. There's a fine and dangerous line between being inspired by other filmmakers and flat ripping them off. Here's a side story. Back when I was in print advertising, every year we would get a year-end annual from a company called Communication Arts. It was a big fat book full of all the best of last year's print ads, brochures, billboards, anything graphic design. So it was a big yearbook of all the previous year's best stuff from the best agencies around the world. Everyone in the agency would scramble to get their chance to look at the book and spend a couple days with it. In fact, there was a sign-out system like in a library so that you would have a couple of days with the book. Most everybody wanted that book for inspiration. In fact, even the higher-ups in the company, when you were working on a project, would suggest you look at Communication Arts to get inspired on your project. I avoided this book like the plague. Like the plague. Inevitably, everyone that viewed this book on their very next project would come up with a print campaign or design that looked remarkably similar to one that had been in the Communication Arts Journal. Remarkably similar. That's a nice way of saying that they flat ripped somebody off. They took someone else's design under the guise of being inspired. My goal, my mission in life, was to come up with things that no one had ever done before. Completely original. And more importantly, that the idea be king, that it never becomes second to a good design. And more importantly, letting the idea be king and not letting the design compensate for a shitty concept. I am a firm believer that a great idea can be written on a napkin. Design is second to a great idea, always, in my opinion. The same applies, in my book, to filmmaking. Yes, I believe in inspiration. I like watching the works of other master filmmakers, but on a straight appreciation of what they've done, not to copy what they've done. Every master filmmaker has a look that's distinctly theirs. And you can argue some of these observations, but this is how I personally view the style of some of the greats. Steven Spielberg is the finest storyteller in the history of cinema. Period. There may never be anyone better. He enhances his incredible storytelling with magnificent camera movement. Nobody, and I mean nobody, moves a camera like Steven Spielberg. I can give you 1,000 examples, but you can look them up on your own. Spielberg draws you into a moment with perfect camera movement. Unlike anything that came before him. Ron Howard, who's also a brilliant storyteller, uses those moves more sparingly. In fact, he builds moments by holding on locked shots and then moving you through that moment to the next moment with a camera move. He does it like nobody else. It's amazing to watch. It's a kind of follow me approach. Spike Lee is a master at using almost uncomfortably long holds on shots. He'll hold on a shot forever to build the tension. Just when you think he should cut away, he holds it a little bit longer. He's brilliant at it. He's a master. The Wachowski brothers revolutionized a look when they made The Matrix, using bullet cam and high-speed footage. No one had ever done anything like that before. It was revolutionary. Mac G uses high-speed footage in almost a balletic way. It's like a symphony of high-speed footage, all very well orchestrated. I am personally not a big fan of Wes Anderson's storytelling. I think a lot of the stuff he does is weird for weird's sake. It's kind of oddball buffoonery. But the look of his films is absolutely amazing in terms of breaking all the rules. He breaks all the rules of filmmaking. How he frames shots, weird camera angles, the color palettes he uses for his movies is like some kind of psycho birthday cake. I love it. It's uniquely his. You instantly know when you're watching a Wes Anderson movie. All of these people have created a style that's uniquely theirs. And all of them have other filmmakers that follow them trying to rip them off. Because it's easier to use a style that's already been proven that it'll work, rather than coming up with your own with a chance that it might tank. Think of the massive risk that Chris Nolan took when he made Inception. That was a massive risk. It could have failed miserably. It didn't. It was brilliant. He came up with an amazing look. Again, back to the advertising world for a minute. Apple came up with a campaign of people talking on a white seamless background. For 10 years after that, there were 7,000 commercials of people standing on a white background talking to camera or talking to each other. Every project I got for the next 10 years had to include at least one concept for the client that were people talking on a white seamless background. It was a proven format, so why reinvent the wheel? Because that's what we do. We reinvent the wheel. Whether that's advertising or filmmaking, it's coming up with something unique that's never been done before. That's our job. But let me wrap this back around to Sven for a second. It hurts my heart to think that because you feel your videos aren't polished enough or your storytelling isn't good enough, that you may miss the opportunity to document this incredible, amazing journey. If your equipment is crappy, if your editing skills aren't good enough, whatever, use that, at least in the outset, to create a look that's exclusively yours. Make your style of storytelling work with that low-budget look. But don't think for a second that your stuff isn't good enough. Compared to what? Compared to who? Are you comparing your work to feature films? To other videos online? What are you comparing it to? It's not their story. It's not their look. It's yours. Exclusively. Exclusively Svens. In the long run, 10 years from now, whether you're in the middle of this journey or it's in your rearview mirror, you will absolutely kick yourself that you didn't document every moment of it for fear that your stuff wouldn't be up to snuff. Your technique and even your equipment will improve over time. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. But you will never, ever, ever get those moments back. Never. You should capture every single moment of it. You should document it from the very beginning to the very end of your journey. As I've mentioned in one form or another in previous videos, if the reason you're creating content is for the approval of nameless, faceless, anonymously brave online reviewers, no matter how good your stuff looks, you're in for some heartbreak. Those people are asshats. People on social media are super brave about telling you that your work is shit, even though, for the most part, none of them have ever done anything worth the salt on their own. Start off making this video diary for yourself only. As your skills advance, as your gear gets better, as your work starts to look a little more polished, if you want to share those videos with the world, awesome, go for it. I'm sure people will love it. But at minimum, don't let the fear of creating work that you feel is not up to par with other people's work stop you from actually making it. And make sure no matter what that the look and style you come up with is yours and you're not ripping off someone else, even under the guise of inspiration. So Sven, I hope this helps. I hope it helps you understand how important it is that you document your own story and that you don't let the fear of being not up to par or not on level with anybody else's stuff stop you from creating a journal of this magnificent journey. People go their whole lives and don't have this kind of opportunity. You are living an adventure. You should document it from day one, especially as a filmmaker. Don't worry about your equipment. Don't worry about even your storytelling abilities quite yet. It will develop as time goes on. And remember what I've said in pretty much every episode? Great work can be done on any equipment. It can be done on a cell phone. I'm not so sure about this DJI Osmo, but it can be done on anything. You can make magnificent, magnificent work, excellent storytelling on any piece of gear. The look doesn't matter. It's your look because it's your story. In fact, let the progression of your storytelling be part of your storytelling. As things get better and better and better, that's actually part of your journey. Your filming of the journey is part of your journey. Tell your story like only you can. I believe in you wholeheartedly, and I hope you have a magnificent adventure. Unfortunately, that's all the time I have to film today before the work gets started in the house. So please check out all the links below for all the people that helped me put this show together. If you dig the show, please like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed Hollywood Grump. Until next time, when I hope this bullshit will completely be over, get the hell out of my house!